Hello and welcome, boys and girls of all ages. I think it's something like that, isn't it?
Yeah, yep, yep.
You'll
Ladies and
you'll
gentlemen, boys
notice,
and girls of all ages.
boys and girls of all ages. You'll notice that our main man, our host, as it is, Derek Rezio, has failed to join us this week, and so it's just me along with my co-host, Bobby Epler, as you can see on your screen. Bobby, would like to introduce yourself to the people, given and maybe say some words about Derek not being here and not joining us.
Well, of course, you guys all know who I am, none other than GTT faithful Bobby. But I
Oh,
mean,
of
I
course, yeah.
think it's just appropriate that we say that Derek is as the host of GTT truly failed us, and not being able to show up on time. I mean, we reamed Dennis to the seams. It's only appropriate that the same level of vitriol goes into reverse. Derek, where you at, man? Got an APB out
No,
for you. Missing persons alert has been sent out to the state of Arizona. We need you.
Bobby, they say revenge is a dish best served cold, and I'm freezing right now. I can tell you that.
I
It
can.
is,
I had to put on a
I mean, it
sweatshirt.
is
I had to
ice.
put on a
I
sweatshirt.
mean, I've got one on too, and I am still cold, man. I tell you what, this is truly unbelievable. What a moment for me.
I know.
I mean,
Finally, it's not you for once, huh, Dennis?
I'm just off of the chopping block, out of the doghouse.
Dennis,
Finally,
what does it say that I'm the only person that's ever made it to every single pod on time, if not way early?
I've said this before, Bobby, and I'll say it again. I think it's just true dedication to the craft. I mean, always willing to put the pod above himself and
What can I
and be
say?
there when it matters most.
As Derek said when you missed it, Dennis, the people need their content. The show must go on. Maybe Derek will join us. I'm sure he will be here later, but the show must go on. Let's get this going.
Absolutely. And we just watched the Cincinnati Bengals finish off a victory over the Miami Dolphins on Thursday Night Football. Who Dey? Got to start out with that. And it wasn't necessarily pretty, Bobby, by any stretch of the imagination, but they got the job done. So they go up to 2-2 on the season through 4 weeks, 4 games, and
Yep.
Miami falls to 3-1, the first loss of the season handed to Miami. And like I said, it wasn't pretty. The Bengals really struggled to run the ball all game, just like they have all season. And I think this is I'll start with my main concern, and it's just that there's really not a lot of efficiency in the run game, and it's mostly because of the lack of run blocking. And I saw it if you watch the game tonight. The offensive line is protecting Joe better. That's 100% true, and you could see that throughout the game. He had a lot more time in the pocket, was able to make plays down the field even. But when it comes to running the ball, we were just not getting a push at all. And then Joe was just not able to really do much in the run game. And I think this is a big concern moving forward. I think Kirk Herbstreit said it on the broadcast, but it kind of feels like we're becoming a one dimensional team.
No, I'd agree, and you could really, at least from my perspective, tell based on some of the looks that Joe Burrow was getting going downfield. I mean, he wasn't getting sacked as many times, which is kudos to the line for holding up today for Cincy, but still a lot of throws off the back foot, a lot of balls that were just not particularly close to receivers, not really quite catchable, just it's a beat or two off in rhythm, and that has to be attributed to the fact that the coverage is good, and then that just gives time for the rush to eventually get there, no matter what the line does, and you know maybe Joe just missing a couple throws, that also happens too. But Joe Mixon, when he got into space, he looked athletic. He looked good. I really don't know what the issue is there, but especially with the defense, the defense kind of held you down in this one. I know that we haven't really mentioned the Tua injury yet, but nothing really overly impressive from the Bengals offense, and I think that is concerning, knowing that just the regression of how explosive it was last year to maybe what you're seeing now, Dennis.
Yeah, and I have a couple other things I want to get to, more so with the Bengals and some good things that I saw moving forward. But you brought it up, so why don't we talk quickly about the Tua injury? I believe it was in the second quarter of this football game. Tua goes down on a sack, kind of gets, borderline slammed to the ground in the backfield, hits comes straight down on his back, hits his head pretty hard onto the ground, and is immediately showing some not great signs from a health perspective, laying on his back. They had to bring out the stretcher. He was transferred to UC Medical Center, where it sounds like he's going to be released tonight and travel home with Miami, with the Dolphins on the team plane, which is a really good sign because he was laying on the field there down and out for quite a while. And it seemed as though it was a head and neck injury of some sorts. Very scary situation in Cincinnati tonight, but all counts and all points, all things point right now to that he's going to be okay. And so that's the good news that comes out of this, but a very scary situation.
Yeah, I mean, and as soon as you and I were watching it live together, as soon as he went down, I was yelling already because I knew something did not look right. It looked like a hard impact on the ground. It wasn't a flagged hit or anything like that, but it looked violent when it happened. And just glad to hear that he's doing all right now, and like you said, potentially going to be released. Teddy Bridgewater in his stead, didn't look that bad all until the game, when the game came down to the final seconds and he made that errant throw. But then again, for most of the night he looked pretty good, like a backup should. But credit the Bengals, they just were able to outlast this one. But I really would have liked to see this game finish out, obviously, with Tua at the helm, because I think this game could have been quite interesting right there at that final moments.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Tua looked pretty good before he left the game. I think we were winning the game at that point, but very close. It was really very close all the way to the end, if we're being honest. And then Teddy making the throwing the pick there towards the end of the fourth quarter. I mean,
not
really
even
timely
not
for
even close.
The Bengals. No, I mean it was pretty bad, and like you said though, overall not a bad game for Teddy. It felt like he came in and was pretty confident, knew what he was doing. He was running the offense.
Yep.
And he was a little bit off with a few throws here and there, and then of course the bad one at the end that really kind of did on the Dolphins this week. But all in all, not bad. A couple other things I wanted to talk about.
Yep. Of course,
because we haven't gotten a chance to recap week 3 either, because we had our last show a week ago. I was digging through some numbers in preparation for tonight's game, and number one, Joe Burrow was sacked 13 times between weeks 1 and 2. Week 3 against the Jets, he was sacked twice, and tonight I believe only one time.
The only one that I
have to go check the number. I think he was only sacked one time. Another big stat for the Bengals: no turnovers this week, no interceptions, no fumbles. Took care of the football, and were able to be aggressive, kind of striking that balance between what we saw the first couple weeks of the season. Of course, week 1, where we turned it over 5 times against Pittsburgh, and then week 2, where we didn't turn it over, but we're just playing super cautious and kind of, worked our way through that game and ended up losing that game. But yeah, limited the sacks tonight. The pass protection was good. The O-line held up much better. Joe was getting the ball out better, or faster, that is. And a lot of short and intermediate completions, especially to open up the game. I pulled this from the Jets game, the first drive of the Jets game last week. 11 pass plays, 1 run play. 9 of the 11 pass plays were considered short plays, so it was a target under 15 yards. We're hitting these shorter slant routes, out routes, screen passes, et cetera, and that was really jump-starting the offense. We saw that again on the first drive of the game tonight. Well, with Miami. I mean, we drove right down the field and scored that opening drive touchdown, which was huge. And then things kind of got a little weird. I felt like we took the foot off the gas. The play calling got a little weird in the middle of the second, third quarter there. And then we kind of got back to what we were doing well at the end of the game. And ultimately, that's what, in my opinion, was able to pull it out for us. Plus, having the interceptions and the defense stepping up time and time again was clutch. Derek Rezio has joined us. Derek, how are you doing?
I'm tired. Been a long day, but the show must go on. I'm here. I'm excited, ready to talk some sports with the boys.
No, I mean that's awesome. We're happy to have you. Even though you'll have to go back and listen to the beginning of the episode. We did. I certainly got my licks in. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, were you guys already planning on starting before I had said anything? Did you start right at 8:30?
Yeah, I think we're pretty much starting it right up, weren't we, Bobby?
Oh yeah, we were already talking about it, but we waited I think a few minutes after that.
Yeah.
So don't worry, you haven't missed too much yet, but
I say really the only thing you've missed is me go on and on and on about the Bengals for very little reason. So definitely not
Yeah,
missed anything.
I didn't get a chance to watch the game. I've been making dinner ever since I got home at 6:30, so I didn't. I saw the clips of Tua. Prayers up to Tua. I don't know how he didn't get a roughing the passer, Dennis. Not to like not to like yam on the Bengals or anything, but like, and I don't even care. I thought it was a football play, but I was just surprised that there was no roughing the passer because I don't know about you, Bob, but there was very clear ripping him backwards, slamming him on his head.
I mean, here's the thing. We touched on this a little bit already,
Yep.
but just because, just I mean, definitely prayers up to Tua. I'm glad it sounds like he's going to be okay. I mean, he is all accounts pointed to at the end of the game that he's going to be discharged from UC Medical Center in short order, which is very good news. But
Where the world's greatest doctors and medical
correct,
professionals reside.
correct, we're the absolute best, only the best at UC Medical Center. So I mean, kudos to them too. I'm sure they gave him excellent treatment, which is also to credit for him getting out. Um, it was like you said, Derek. Though you said it was a football play, and it was a little violent. It was unfortunate that he landed on his back and that he got hit on the head, and that his head landed so harshly into the ground. But I mean, this is a guy who was already coming into this game a little banged up with very similar issues, and I think that in some ways contributed. And yeah, it was a hard hit, but it was a football play, and I'm glad it wasn't flagged because it didn't deserve to be flagged. It wasn't a penalty.
Bob, is that just Bengals bias coming from Dennis? A football play?
When I saw the play, Dennis can attest because we were watching it together. My live reaction was a immediate, "Oh my goodness!" I was floored because as soon as that happened, I was like, that was violent." However,
here's the thing:
we were talking
doesn't necessarily mean illegal,
which is what I said. Violent doesn't necessarily mean illegal. However, they flagged the play before, which was I know you didn't watch much of the game, Derek, but the play before that there had been a roughing the passer called for a much less violent hit, but it was just kind of low, like it got him in the legs a little bit, and they flagged that. The next play, they came back as he's getting stretchered off from this hit with no flag. It was just kind of it looked much more like a roughing than the previous play.
Yeah. Did the broadcast mention anything about it, or did the attention pretty much go straight to his well-being?
Yeah, that was more about that. I don't really think correct me, Dennis, but I don't think there was anything about that.
Not that I remember hearing. It was mostly just about making sure that Tua was okay, and I think it was just one of those situations. Since they didn't throw the flag, they didn't speculate about it potentially being one that much. But yeah, I mean, Bobby's exactly right. There was that play before, which I was hooting and hollering about us getting a roughing the passer.
Because, wasn't happy about that one either.
the way that the rule is written, yeah, it's probably a roughing the passer. He literally just grabs his ankles and as he yanks a little bit, Tua collapses and falls. It's like grabbing someone by their leg and then trying to pull it out from under him. And he did kind of roll a little bit onto the the bottom of his foot, and so I see why it was called. I just don't if you look at the two plays and asked which one should be a penalty and which one shouldn't, you would probably say, like Bobby said, that the second one should have been a penalty. But based on the way the rules are written, I think they got it right. And the first one was based on you can't go low on a quarterback, and the second one wasn't. He was wrapped up. He just wrapped him up.
Yeah.
So
I totally agree. I was just giving you a hard time because I wanted to get a rise out of you. Here's what I do want to ask, and I don't know if you guys touched on it already in the very beginning or not. There was no reason for Tua to even be playing. The Dolphins training staff is going to have a lot of questions to answer because the fact that they cleared him from concussion protocol after he was out cold on his feet Sunday and all of a sudden turned around to play 4 days later is very sketchy to me. And
Yeah, and
so
then they cleared him playing this game, and he ended up having to leave on a stretcher.
yeah, I'd like to see what the concussion protocol that he cleared was for his back injury, because that whole situation is extremely concerning. And I'll be interested to see if Mike McDaniel's Dolphins head coach comes under any fire for it all, since ultimately he's the one who has the option to play Tua or not. Because I don't know about you guys, but I thought it was ridiculous that he was even playing today and that he was cleared.
Yeah, no, I had I had very similar thoughts. I know that it kind of seemed like leading up to kick off that he was going to be playing in this game. It was kind of, I think he was listed as questionable, but all indications were that he was going to play. And I'm thinking, why?
Yeah.
Like, especially since he's been playing so well, and obviously just the safety of your players.
All right, easy there. You beat the
Most important.
Jets.
I say.
You said since he had been playing pretty well, and I mean, let's pump the brakes a little bit. You beat the Jets
Tua.
after losing to Dallas
No,
and
Tua.
losing to Pittsburgh.
Tua had been playing pretty well. He was 3-0.
Oh, I thought you said
They beat
Cincinnati
Buffalo.
had been playing well.
I mean, nah, we're not, I'm
I
not
thought
going
you
that
said
far.
I thought you said
Tua.
Tua. I thought you were saying that Tua didn't need to play because Cincinnati had been playing so well lately, so they didn't really stand a chance.
I was
I
saying
see.
that Tua has been playing pretty well, and so you don't
I
want to
see.
see him go down with a serious injury, like may be the case tonight. I mean, hopefully not, but
I see. My
that's what I was saying.
apologies.
No, you're good. You're good. I was like, wait, what did I say?
Yeah, yeah. Because I was
Uh,
thinking, as I don't know, let's take a look a live update of the CBS Sports Pick'em. I just want to see who everyone picked tonight.
I took.
I'm
Yeah,
assuming.
I already looked. I can already fill you in. It was a 4-3 split, with the four for Cincy, 3 for Miami, and you two were both for Cincy and me for Miami.
Well, Bob, what were you thinking? This was easy money. There was no way the Dolphins can't start 4-0, and the Bengals can't start 1-3.
Well, I mean, if you watch the game, there was a very realistic possibility that the Dolphins were starting 4-0 because the Bengals did not look impressive.
Yeah. Maybe I'll go back and watch the highlights after we're done here and get a feel for what happened. But all I know is my brother texted me and he was like, "The Bengals' offensive line is so trash."
I mean, comparatively to other weeks, it wasn't that bad. But
He said they get no push, and that Joe Mixon should be very upset because if they could run block for him on the end zone, he'd have a lot more touchdowns.
Okay, that was accurate, but the pass blocking wasn't as bad as it had been.
Yeah, and that's what I was talking about. And it might have been just before Derek hopped on here, but in terms of pass blocking, just simple statistics: 7 sacks, 6 sacks, 2 sacks, 1 sack. That's the trend on the first 4 weeks. The run blocking has been rough, and watching this was painful at times because Joe has nowhere to go. And so I think that's my concern, and I opened with that is my main concern with this team moving forward is just the inability to run the ball, and that falls in this case on the offensive line, just not getting push, especially at the goal line. Luckily, Joe did get in for that 1 score, but I mean,
I needed it for my fantasy team.
We're having more luck, Joe getting stopped and then everyone pushing from behind to push the pile over. Like that's more luck that we're having. We're having more success with that than we are just blocking the guys up front in the first place, and that's not a good sign. So definitely a concern. And Joe kind of had to win this game through the air. I mean, I took a look at the stat line: 287, 2 touchdowns for Burrow. And so pretty decent game all in all. And then, of course, the 1-for-1, 23 yards. Tyler Boyd, don't forget it, on the trick play, which was absolutely crucial. Great call. I don't think I've seen a trick play like that since Marvin Lewis called on Mohamed Sanu to throw it from the flat, which always worked pretty well.
Dennis hitting us with the old clips, the OG clips.
Dude, yeah, I mean, hey, I'm getting old now. What can I say? I mean, I'm like over 23 and a half, going on 24 here. This is ridiculous. I know way too many old dudes who played this game. Yeah. I mean, there's dudes out there that are like 4 years younger than us playing NFL football.
Correct. Yeah, I try not to think about it like that we get older and NFL players all stay the same age. It's very
They all stay the same age.
it's very disconcerting. So, but yeah, Dennis, you've had a heck of a 4 days. 2 wins in 4 days. UC made it 3 wins in 5 days. I mean, you just got to be right on cloud nine, Dennis.
Yeah, I mean, we can I agree, we can move into college football from here. I think I've said my piece on the Bengals. UC picked up on the win Saturday. Go check out the NCAA recap video that we did and posted on last Saturday night, where we went through some initial reactions. That was sweet. UC coming off the win over the Indiana Hoosiers. Michigan taking down Maryland, and Michigan State, unfortunately, demise. And so we don't have to touch on that too much, Bobby. I know that's a sore subject, but yeah, I mean, who do you guys have this week?
MSU gets Maryland,
Yeah,
which
well,
is
you get to go to
exactly the
Maryland.
game I
That's
wanted
right.
to talk about because this is very exciting. Now, it was very it was very funny because my mom texted me last Saturday, and she was saying, "Poor Chase, Nebraska's terrible. MSU is getting blown out." And I was like, "I'm thoroughly enjoying every second of this MSU game. I'm not lying." And Bob, I don't know about you, but I think my CBS pick'em is going to be a very, a hard decision, but I think I'm ultimately going to have to go with Maryland. I'm 50-50. I really am. But what are your thoughts, Bob? I'm just not convinced that Maryland can get it done.
Here's what I'm making all the faces about. I'm like 85-15 that Maryland's going to roll us. I've got extremely low faith in the MSU Spartans to get it done on the road against a team that's got some prowess passing the football. Until
Bob,
I,
you're not taking a 51-49 stance that MSU might have a shot to pull this one off?
I said before the season that I thought we would win this ball game. However, we've looked so bad that I cannot put my faith behind us. I'm going to need to see the only way we stand a chance in this game is if our secondary shows an ounce of backbone and doesn't allow Tua's brother to throw all over us, and we can keep the game plan simple on offense and just not play with outside our means. But no, I'm not predicting a W in this ball game, and I will be joining you in the pick'em as I did, I believe, last week. And I will be picking the Maryland Terrapins to win this one. Testudo is going to be rising up this week, unfortunately for us, and I'm in shambles.
Yeah, Dennis. I don't know if you picked up on it, Dennis, but just in case the viewers didn't pick up on it, I don't think MSU has any shot. I mean, I'm 100% that Maryland's going to win this game by 20 plus. MSU's secondary is straight dog water. Sorry, Bob. But like Michigan didn't play their best game, but Maryland is still a very competent offense. If you want my further in-depth analysis on Maryland, feel free to watch Saturday's video. But let's just say I think Tua's brother Talia is for real. Well, to an extent, he's for real in the sense of a Maryland scheme. But Maryland's pass offense is pretty good, and they can actually run the ball a little bit too. And MSU's defense is utter shambles. They might even be particles at this point because they offer about as much resistance as a pile of dust. Dennis, do you got any takes for the Maryland MSU game?
I mean, I've watched a little bit of both of these teams, and I can tell you that Maryland looked awful impressive against Michigan, especially in that first half before kind of the floor fell out and the steam ran out. But Michigan State's been on the big time struggle bus, and I think you guys are both on point. Unfortunately, even though I've found myself with a little bit of a soft spot for the Spartans, but this is just not looking like their year. I think,
Dennis, will you be
defensively, that's where the issue is.
Will you be taking Maryland in the pick'em?
I think I already did, yeah. I'm sure I locked in on that. I mean, I can pull it up for proof, but I did. I went through all of them today and I just did the whole thing, and I'm pretty sure that was an easy click for the Terrapins.
Although
I don't think I had any. second guesses.
Although to bounce into the next game of your Wolverines coming up, Derek. Dennis did say that he was spending some time contemplating his pick in this ball game.
As he should. Listen,
one of the best defenses in the country, Derek. I mean, you're going to have to game plan for that.
Kinnick Stadium is where, as Jim Harbaugh so eloquently put it, top 5 teams go to die. Iowa, when unranked, is 5-1 in their last 6 games against top 5 opponents at Kinnick Stadium.
That's unbelievable. That's incredible.
And I very distinctly remember when Michigan lost 14-13 on a last-second field goal that ultimately cost us a trip to the college football playoff the Big Ten championship game, because Ohio State was a 2-loss team that year, losing to who did they lose to? They lost to Penn State on that blocked field goal game, and then MSU didn't beat them that year, did they?
I can't recall.
2016? They lost to someone else. I don't know if that was the year they also lost to Purdue. I don't remember. But Ohio State was a 2-loss team, and that was the year that Penn State went to the Big Ten championship game because they owned the head-to-head tiebreaker over Ohio State, and because we had lost to Ohio State even though we beat Penn State. We were out of the running because of that loss to Iowa. So I vividly remember that year. And like Dennis said, Iowa's defense, very, very good. Iowa's defense also has not played a very, very good offense yet. And Iowa has no offense, and they've played a bunch of FCS schools. But turnovers are, what are going to make or break this game. I think if Michigan plays turnover-free football, they win it rather comfortably. If they turn it over even one time, makes the game, in my mind, a little more scary because Iowa's defense almost has as many touchdowns scored as Iowa's offense. So I think Dennis's, his contemplating was valid, but ultimately at the end of the day, hopefully he doesn't pick Iowa because I think Michigan's going to be able to buck the trend.
No, I took Iowa. I took Michigan. I took Michigan.
Is that a Freudian slip, Dennis? Are you regretting your decision already?
Perhaps. I mean, I still got time, right?
You do?
I can still go back and change that. No, I think that pretty much everything that you said is completely accurate. I was trying to go back and look back. Were you saying that 2016 Ohio State was a 2-loss team?
I thought it was 2016. Maybe it was 2014. I do not remember the year that we lost to Iowa. I just remember losing to Iowa. And that was the game that ultimately cost us a trip to the Big Ten championship because we beat Penn State and Penn State beat Ohio State. And I remember.
So it was 2016. You're right, because Michigan lost to Iowa 14-13.
Yep.
And then Penn State beat Iowa and Ohio State. Ohio State's one loss was Penn State.
Okay.
So you're pretty much right on it, other than the fact that Ohio State only had the one loss.
Okay. That must have been a different year then.
Yeah, I guess I'll give my quick thoughts on this game so we can move on. But no hesitation by me, no contemplation by me. I've been listening to my fellow
and here comes the Iowa pick.
GTT mentor Derek talk about the Michigan Wolverines for so long, and I would have no reason to believe he would lie to me if this Michigan team is what he says they are. This will be potentially a 20-point win for the Wolverines. So it was a quick and easy see the game, pick, move on, not even think.
Love it, Bob.
I've got no doubts in my mind, and I think there should be rioting in the streets if Jim Harbaugh gags this one up.
Yeah, I'm with you. The expectations for the season, I think, will be set with this game. But for those of you who are friends or fans of parallels, last year, Michigan beat up on 3, relative cupcakes. Struggled week 4 against Rutgers, beat them 20-13, but were shut out the entire second half. And then went on the road to a place that is a normal house of horrors for Michigan football, Wisconsin, and dominated from start to finish and won. This year, beat up on 3 absolute cupcakes. Struggled against a Maryland team that was, out with something to prove, and now goes to a typical House of Horrors at Kinnick Stadium for Week 5. So, listen, all I'm saying is there's history there. Maybe only be 1 year of history, but that was a pretty good year. Dennis, who does UC got this week, and is it going to be another free dub since the American Conference is trash? I'm pretty sure Houston lost to some bum team a while ago. So, I mean, if UC doesn't win the American, that would just be the ultimate choke job.
Yeah, I was just going to go into UC real quick because we open up American Conference play with none other than Tulsa. So we get the powerhouse that is Tulsa. Although I'll say this: Tulsa 2-2 on the year. Last week, lost to Bobby's face.
The powerhouse is the green.
Okay,
it's not the green wave. I'm waiting for the game where the green wave plays Cincinnati.
Tulsa's the Golden Hurricane.
I know.
Just as cool.
I know. But I've always been attached to the green wave.
I'll have to look up, but not East Carolina. Not the
I like the Pirates, but the green wave is also.
Bobby's a fan of pretty much every team in the American that's not University of Cincinnati.
You're catching on.
To be fair, the American teams have pretty cool, unique names.
They do. The mascots are pretty sweet. The green wave, the
Tulsa Golden Hurricane, but they're located in Oklahoma. They don't get any hurricanes there. Same with Tulane, the Tulane Green Wave. Aren't they an Oklahoma school too?
No, they're in New Orleans, I'm pretty sure.
New Orleans.
Oh, they are. Yep. They are in Louisiana. Yes. So that actually makes sense.
I was just gonna say Tulsa 2-2, but coming off a 8-point loss to ranked Ole Miss, so they held their own a little bit in that game. Oh my gosh, he's got the mascot. That is just, I mean, yeah, it's unique, but I feel like the heck is
that's the mascot.
Okay, I'm just gonna pretend I didn't see that.
I would.
35-27, Ole Miss beat Tulsa last week, so they were really there, and kind of back and forth throughout the whole game. They never really were down bad. What is he doing now?
It's the evolution of the mascot.
Oh my gosh!
Wow.
I mean, what year are we in?
This is the current mascot right here. This pelican.
That's
Pelican's sweet. The pelican is.
So is freaking Poseidon over here.
Yeah, that's facts.
Well, yeah, the Poseidon.
Shout out Tulane.
Just the straight up wave was not that cool though. Just the green wave. Just literally a green wave.
Does Tulsa have any chance?
No, Tulsa doesn't have any chance. I mean, here's the fact of the matter: University of Cincinnati, my Bearcats, they're just better. Pretty much in every way. That at least I just don't have any. I just don't have any qualms about this game. ESPN's given us like a 75% chance to win. In the minus 300s. It is a 7 p.m. game. So I think finally get to play. This should be the first time that we get to play under the lights, I think. So that should be fun. But I'm expecting a victory here. I'm not too worried. I was just looking down the schedule here. Bobby, you'll be happy to know that we finished the season with the green wave.
The chance to spoil it all. The chance to spoil it all.
Downtown Cincinnati, in the Queen City, Tulane travels to Cincinnati on November 26th. So that should be a good one. And we got East Carolina a couple weeks before that, also at home on the 11th of November. The Pirates, baby. So bring out the fight song.
Dennis,
I'm predicting a victory here.
Does it concern you at all that Tulsa is currently 2-0 at home and you'll have to go to Oklahoma?
No, I mean, what were the 2 wins at home were like Jacksonville State and
Northern Illinois, yes.
Northern Illinois.
Wasn't Jacksonville State, wasn't that where Ben Bryant played quarterback before Cincinnati? Or I mean, something like that? Or
No, not quite. Not quite. Jacksonville State. Okay, that was a good one, though. That was good. 54-17 over Jacksonville State. 38-35 over Northern Illinois. I mean, give me a break.
I mean, let's be fair to Northern Illinois. They gave Kentucky a run for their money. Now, if you're like me, you think Kentucky's a bunch of overrated bums anyway. But It's still worth something that they lost by 8 at Kentucky just last week, Dennis. So I
Like
don't
I said,
know.
I'm not trying to crap on Tulsa too hard here. I
Tulsa
mean,
Tulsa might be a sneaky underdog pick. I don't know. What's the spread there, Dennis? If it's
I
less than
was just
10, I
about
think
to.
you're in trouble.
Oh, I mean, I don't know if I'm necessarily betting us against the spread, but I just think that at the end of the day, we're going to be able to get it done.
Not betting you against the spread, Dennis.
Clear,
After you
Well,
just
we're
said
just clearly
Tulsa
better.
plus
We're
10.
clearly
Let's take a look
better.
what the spread is.
After
It's 10. The spread is 10. Exactly 10.
after Dennis said, "Oh, I've no concerns about Tulsa. We're the better team." It doesn't matter how good Tulsa is.
Walking
We're
it
just
back.
better. You know.
Both teams 2-2 against the spread this season. Both teams 2-2.
Moonwalking.
Oh my gosh.
Moonwalking. Well, just so.
All I'm saying is Tulsa plus 10.
Ooh,
Yeah.
ooh,
Look, I mean, everything I'm seeing here,
Ooh.
Tulsa has a pretty good offense. The problem is that they just give up too many points, and Ben Bryant's going to be raining down on them all day long. So, I mean, it's just, I think we're just going to be able to outlast them at the end, and it could be around a 10-point game. It's not going to be a blowout. I mean, the spread
It
is
could be a
probably
10-point
pretty
Tulsa win. Just
accurate.
what it could be if
You know,
you're not careful.
The people out in Vegas know what they're doing. So, I mean, I got to trust them with that, but I don't know if I'm necessarily
Vegas
betting
are
this
also
against the
trying to
spread.
make money, Dennis.
Which is why they set the line at the closest they possibly can. They don't
Maybe
want to
I
give any
should work
free
for
money.
Vegas. I was all over that line. I didn't even know what it was.
Yeah, honestly, Derek. I mean, get the sport books out here, and
That's right.
it's just absolutely right on it. Guessing the 10, but yeah, I mean, all in all, I mean, 3-0 in the last 3 weeks. Throw out Kennesaw State, but beating Miami, beating Indiana, and now we get to start American Conference play. So I'm feeling pretty good going into this week overall. Just vibes. The way we handled Indiana last week was comfortable, and definitely go check out the video once again.
Got a lot of other big ranked matchups just to do a little quick preview. Number 7 Kentucky at number 14 Ole Miss should be a good game. Purdue at now ranked number 21 Minnesota could be a very interesting game. Oklahoma State number 9 at number 16 Baylor, very interesting. 22 Wake Forest at 23 Florida State. Nice to see Florida State back in the rankings. Big fan of that.
Alabama, Arkansas.
Alabama, Arkansas, ranked matchup in Fayetteville. And then NC State, Clemson in what could be the battle for the ACC crown right there. A lot of
Please,
people.
NC State.
A lot of people are, were picking NC State as their dark horse playoff team and all this other nonsense. I wouldn't be surprised if 0 teams from the ACC make it because they're all, slightly above average but beat each other up. So that'll be an interesting game. I'm not sold on
I'm fine with that.
DJU, so
I'm fine with that. I just don't particularly like Clemson, so I don't care if NC State wins or not, but get Clemson out of the get them out of the discussion.
How can you not like Clemson, Dennis?
Dabo is just extremely annoying to me. I don't even know what it is. Like I think it's just listening to him like talk over the years. He just ticks me off.
Well, then just don't listen to him.
I mean, sure, I'm not going to listen to him. I don't listen to him, but I'm not going to root for his team either.
Oh man, I'll tell you what. NCAA football 14, Clemson's jersey combos made me a fan. So I do have a soft spot for Clemson, actually.
All right, there we go. I mean, I think I took NC State in the pick'em because why not?
What do you think about that, Bob?
I'd also. Oh, go ahead, Bobby.
NC State, NC Schmate. It's Clemson by a million, baby. Tigers.
Gosh, I'd also love to see the Razorbacks upset the Crimson Tide this week, baby. That would look good for UC. UC would be looking good, losing to highly ranked Arkansas, just knocked off Alabama, baby.
Speaking of Arkansas, that play from last week where first of all, KJ Jefferson, what are you doing? Dude tried to jump the pile from the 3-yard line.
Correct.
Putting on my best Bobby face right there. Terrible decision. And then, a really good heads-up play by the Texas A&M defenders to have the wherewithal to give the ball up to his teammate, and then he sprints down the sideline. Reminded me very much of, was it Oklahoma State that did the out of bounds tip drill? I don't know, 7, 8 years ago, where
Sounds
the
right.
pass was sailing out of bounds and the DB jumped out of bounds and then threw it back into play to his teammate. I think that was Oklahoma State. I think. Um, but yeah, so that was a pretty cool play. But also, KJ Jefferson, what are you doing? That play single-handedly changed the tides of that game and cost me a pick'em pick because Arkansas just never recovered mentally. So, but that was a good game. That was a very good game.
Yeah, that was a very good game. So this Saturday should be full of a lot of really good and really fun to watch college football. I'll definitely be watching a lot of it, but also a big game on Sunday, and that's the Detroit Lions doing battle against the Seattle Seahawks, a game that I would hope that my co-hosts are going to say that Detroit Lions should win, but I'd love to hear their thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, Bob, I don't know about you, but I was in a dark place last Sunday. I made the mistake of getting a little tipsy on the blue Kool-Aid,
I
and
told you to keep it on
was-
standby, Derek. On standby.
I couldn't help myself. You know, we
Popped
get
the
out to
cork
that
a little early.
14-0 lead. We get out to the 14-0 lead, and then we have 24-14 lead. We have a chance to, score and put the game out of reach, and then let them hang around, and yeah, I was in a dark place for about an hour and a half Sunday after that defeat. It was very difficult not to start proclaiming same old Lions because I really want to believe that they're different. And I really want to believe that Dan Campbell can make it work. And anyone who watches sports has probably seen all of the takes about the Lions, so you don't need to hear mine about how, Dan Campbell shouldn't be making rookie mistakes in year 2 as a full-time head coach after already having been an interim head coach. So I'll let it slide. We're on to Seattle, Bill Belichick style, just like Dennis did from week 2 to week 3, and it turned out all right for him. Listen, Geno Smith, ever since he didn't write back, has been absolute dog water. They were in an absolute pillow fight with the Atlanta Falcons last week in what was one of the worst games ever played in NFL football. Last week was just a bad week. Packers-Bucks game was cheeks. Broncos 49ers game was horrible.
I don't even know if I can muster talking about Broncos 49ers. That was just a waste of my time.
Just terrible. So listen, the Seahawks have Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf. And for our secondary, that could pose some problems if, with Tracy Walker having torn his Achilles, which is really unfortunate because he's extremely important as both a safety and a signal caller back there. And there's a lot of miscommunication that ended up ultimately costing the Lions the game, which was another reason why I wanted Dan Campbell to go for it on 4th down to take it out of the defense's hands because they were folding faster than a steel chair in a WWE, no holds match. So yeah, I think if, the Lions are not a bad team, I think they're a good team. But again, in 3 weeks, the little things have cost them 2 victories. But taking my predictions into account, I said we'd be sitting here at 1-2 with a chance to win this week to go back to 500. Everything the Lions want is still in front of them. And yes, Dennis, I am predicting a Lions victory. Last week, I was leaning Lions victory, but, I was drinking the Kool-Aid, so I didn't have a clear conscience. This week, my conscience is clear because I've been humbled again, but listen, Seattle's not very good. And Detroit, the sign of a potential playoff team is winning the games that you should win, and this is one of them.
Eric, and you both can comment on this. How do you feel about DK Metcalf dissing Jeff Okudah, saying he is not really locking people down?
Well, 2 things. Jeff Okudah has had some safety help over the top to, let's be real. There are very few corners in this league who can guard Justin Jefferson one-on-one straight up. Very, very few. But at the same time, you also can't blow your assignments in bracket coverage and give up easy receptions. And Jeff Okuda
Correct.
hasn't done that. Still, we're only 3 weeks into what is essentially his sophomore season since he missed all of last year. So there's a chance that, I don't think he'll be guarding DK though, because DK is so huge. I feel like Okuda would be better matched up on Tyler Lockett. Because I think he could probably take Tyler Lockett 1v1, and then you bracket DK Metcalf with a safety and Amani Oruwariye and hope that he learned how to keep his hands to himself over this week of practice. But listen, DK's on a trash team, and it's, very bold to give bulletin board material to a team that is already hungry to redeem themselves after a very disappointing loss.
I completely agree. And Bobby sent me this Instagram reel earlier this week. The last time I heard that a receiver was out here dissing corners, it was Tyreek Hill. And, he didn't do any winning tonight. He looked pretty good. He had a good night. But, hey, it all comes down to W's and L's. And the Bengals got the job done today. So I would love nothing more to see the Lions do that too. And just like you said, DK Metcalf out here acting like he's good, or like that his team is good, and it's just bulletin board material, exactly like you said. Bobby, what do you think?
Yeah, me too. I was in a state of depression after that game last week too, Derek. I can't lie to you. However, like you said, and you kind of got around to my thoughts at the end. Everything, this isn't the end of the world. There's plenty of time to pull it around. There's plenty of teams, including the Seattle Seahawks, who are extremely beatable, and who we can be very, very competitive against, and get a couple wins under our belt to improve our confidence. Maybe heading into another game against a team like Minnesota or something like that, where they're on the the bubble of greatness, but maybe not exactly a world beater. Yeah, the Seahawks. I don't ever like to use this term loosely with the Lions at stake, but the Seahawks have little to no chance this week against the Detroit Lions. I think we will come out and win by double digits. I think this is going to be a statement. I think after last week's performance, everybody's going to be raring to prove a point. Dan Campbell included, and so we're going to be looking to make a statement. And no better team to do that against than the Seattle Seahawks, who haven't looked particularly convincing as everybody's eloquently laid out. So no concerns here. I think that we play as well as we have the past couple weeks. That should be more than enough to get it done.
Bob, is this
I'll be
must
Detroit
win or
sitting at
can't lose?
-4.
What?
Is
Dennis?
this must win or can't lose?
This is can't lose.
I agree. I think this is can't lose territory for the second time in 3 weeks.
I will say so -4, Dennis. I think that's a fair spot, but I think that we can cover that. Also, Derek, I don't know if you know this. I'm sure you know this, but I was sick this week. Part of the reason I was in my down and out state about the Lions was looking at the NFC North standings and seeing that we're the only team at 1-2, and guess where that puts us? Dead last again. Even what did I tell you about? What did I tell you about the Bears? I said you can't be letting the Bears get any wins that they shouldn't be getting, because then that's exactly how they're going to end up above us in the division. And sure enough, very, very early, don't get me wrong, but that was just making me sick to my stomach during the week.
Yeah, I'm hoping, Bob, that our garbage time takes your money segment is Bears Giants, because that is. I'm getting calls on both of my phones right now, and it's showing up as fraud alert. That is the fraud alert 2-1 game of the century. Both the Bears and Giants at 2-1. It's disgraceful. It's a disgrace to the game of football.
It definitely
the Giants.
is, but I think
the Giants beat the Titans and the Panthers and lost to Cooper Rush. And the Bears beat Trey Lance, who is dog water. Got absolutely demolished by Green Bay and put back in their rightful place. And then beat a disastrous, horrible Houston team. I mean, it's tough
is
because
is it sickening that one of those teams is going to be 3-1 after this week?
Yes, neither. That game should end in a tie. That game better end in a tie because neither of those teams deserve to win.
And you want to know what the sad thing is?
This is why ties are a thing.
There's a very real chance it could be the Chicago Bears, which would make us just another game behind the Bears if we don't win this week.
Here's the sneak preview for Pick'em.
2-1 teams, but I think the Giants are better.
Here's my sneak preview for Pick'em. I'm taking the Giants because I can't stomach the thought of the Bears being 3-1.
Thank you, Derek.
That is a heart pick, and I have to go with my heart here and say I cannot possibly root for the Bears to start the season 3-1.
Correct.
That's horrible.
Correct.
Absolutely.
I think it's picking with your head too, though. I think Saquon is
Justin
pretty
Fields
good.
Is terrible.
Justin Fields is not great.
Shout out to me. Shout out to the preseason video, Dennis. Shout it out, baby.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the fact that this Bears team is 2-1 is purely a product of schedule. And I mean, you could probably say the same thing about the Giants too, but I think less so. I mean, the Titans aren't horrendous, not like Houston. And they played the Cowboys pretty close on Monday night. So I mean, I'm not saying that the Giants are going to be good the rest of the season, but I just think that the Bears are more fraudulent. That's just my take on it. So maybe it's picking with your heart. I think it's picking with your head as well. At least I hope so. Maybe it's just me picking with my heart, but I feel like I'm pretty objective since not really an NFC
sure.
guy.
Yeah,
I'll say this right now though: if the Detroit Lions bungled this game, it's SOL everywhere. I'm finding a brown paper bag and it's gonna be on my head next week because there ain't no way we got to win this game. Derek, come on, we got to win this.
I agree. This is can't lose territory.
Thank you.
Very quickly, I think it'd be good to just take a quick trip around the rest of the NFC North. The Vikings play the Saints in London, 9:30 a.m.
Come on, Saints.
NFL Network. So, what do you guys think? Can
the Saints
get
are
it done
so
and help
bad.
you guys out?
The Saints are so bad. Like
they're bad.
It is. Jameis just has. What's the opposite of a clutch gene? What gene is that?
I'd call it the fold gene.
The fold gene? I like that. Jameis has the fold gene. Dude is like so unclutch. How can you not beat Carolina? Carolina is terrible. And Jameis threw the game away, quite literally, with all of his interceptions. So yeah, I've got no hope.
No, Jameis just doesn't have a backbone. Sorry, that was
good one. But yes, I will
good.
not be watching that game because that game starts at 6:30 a.m.
6:30. Oh, I forgot about that. Oh my gosh, 6:30. You don't wake it up for that, Derek? Come on.
I will not be waking up for that. I'll be waking up to the final score as I'm preparing to watch the Lions. But yeah, I'm taking Minnesota, and hopefully Justin Jefferson finally puts up some points for my fantasy team. Even though I don't want to root for Minnesota, New Orleans is so bad, and I can't trust them anymore.
We've also got the New England Patriots traveling to Lambeau playing the Packers.
The Mac Jones-less Patriots.
That could be ugly.
Are you kidding me?
That could be ugly real quick.
Or not Dennis. Bob, is Brian Hoyer going to rise up?
He better darn well rise up because it's nothing but the rich get richer here. I mean, the Packers really needed any help from a Patriots team that they probably were already going to beat. And having their starting quarterback go down and just become an easy. I mean, at home, this is just mop up duty. Aaron Rodgers they could probably play Jordan Love and it'd be over. So, not even a concern there.
Yeah, agreed.
Derek, anything else that you want to hit from the NFL? I don't think we necessarily have to go through game by game, and I also did want to do a little bit of MLB today. But if there's anything else you wanted to mention or bring up. this week.
Yeah,
We can talk
I
about it
just
now.
wanted to point out that last week, sort of like our game of the week, there's a couple games. First, Jaguars Chargers. We talked about it a little bit in our group chat. The Jaguars might actually be good.
More on that
Question.
to come later. More on that to come later.
More on that. Okay, for sure. I don't know how much stake to put in that game since the Chargers have, more injuries than a hospital ward. Bosa's down. Rashawn Slater tore his biceps. Herbert's been dealing with multiple injuries. That was Keenan Allen, or his hamstring. That Chargers team was really banged up, and I don't really know how much you can take away from that game. But Trevor Lawrence looked good, and I'm happy for that because I'm a big Trevor Lawrence fan. And then the other game I wanted to talk about, Bob, the Raiders.
Hmm.
The Raiders.
Only
I
owned three
told you
team in the
Mike
league.
Vrabel was going to have those boys buzzing. And then the Raiders played an absolutely horrendous first half and nearly came back in the second half. But the problem is the Raiders thus far have not put together even three quarters. They're quite literally a team of two halves. So if they could even put like three quarters together of competent football, they could probably win. But this week, the Raiders play the Broncos in the other fraud game of the year, the 0-3 Raiders and the 2-1 Broncos. Bob, this is must win for the Raiders. I mean, how can they not?
I'm not picking them this week either, Derek.
You're not picking them? Oh no.
I can't. How can I do it, Derek? How can I do it?
Because the Broncos are
Because the
terrible.
Broncos won
But
11
I
to
had
10
no
over
respect.
San
I
Fran.
had no respect for the Titans either, and they just beat the Raiders. I got at least on paper. I think that the Broncos are better than the Titans. So I can't logically think that the Raiders are going to. My heart wants them to win, but we all know what that means. Anytime my heart wants anybody to win, they crash and burn instantly. So that's all I got.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Dennis, what do you think? I mean, let
I mean,
Russ cook has been like nothing short of a disaster so far.
yeah, I really had. I mean, every time that they've played in Denver, he's basically gotten booed in his home stadium, or it's either him or Nathaniel Hackett for making some dumb call. And it just hasn't looked good. I think I've said this before, but for all the talk in the preseason, the offseason of Russ coming here so he can cook and tempo, and their best bet is to just run the ball with Melvin Gordon and Javonte Williams. And they've just had very little success, it feels like, throwing it. It feels like, you're talking about two halves with the Raiders. It feels like the Broncos just like sleepwalk through three quarters, and then Russ decides he wants to try to do something in the fourth quarter, and then like brings them back and squeaks out these weird victories where they still kind of look terrible. But the Raiders haven't looked that great either, unfortunately. And I think, I heard this on a different podcast this week. They were talking about how Devontae hasn't really been that involved with the offense overall, just hasn't had that much production. And they're talking about how Aaron Rodgers would, he had such a rapport with Devontae and was so comfortable, he would throw it to Devontae even when he was covered. Even if he knew that he was double covered, he would throw it into double coverage because he trusted Devontae and he trusted himself to make the throw. And Derek Carr is not quite, he's not the same guy. Like, he's just going to throw it to the open guy, which is why we saw Mac Hollins go for like $160 last week. Like, he's not throwing it, he's not force feeding it to Devontae like Aaron Rodgers did. And I think that maybe they need to start doing that. I mean, I know Josh McDaniels had a talking to from the Raiders owner after last week's loss. So maybe it's like, hey, we brought all these guys in here and paid them all this much money, freaking use them. And I don't know if that is part of that conversation. I'm interested to see if things change from utilization and personnel perspective, though, because I think that that's very possible. And maybe that'll be what leads the Raiders to start winning games. I don't know.
The Broncos have scored 16 points, 16 points, and 11 points and are 2-1. Disgusting.
Based on the fact that I just don't think that the Raiders can go to 0-4, I do think that the Raiders could pull this one out. I really do, and just how kind of weirdly bad Denver's played. Where's the game?
It's in Vegas.
See, that helps too. Vegas is usually a pretty tough place to go play, so Raiders fans are kind of weird and crazy, so
Yeah.
that's should work to their advantage.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. The NFL slate is okay this week. I'm just scrolling quick to see if there's any other games that are worth mentioning. Jaguars Eagles should be a very interesting game. Maybe Jacksonville rises up. I have no idea. Bills Ravens should also be a very good game.
I mean, that's the one to watch,
Lamar.
I think.
Josh Allen versus Lamar should be very entertaining. And then Chiefs Buccaneers, Patty Mahomes versus Tom Brady. Tom Brady looks like he's going to get Mike Evans back this week. We'll see for sure, but that should be. Hopefully, that'll be a better game than the Bucs Packers was, because that was awful.
Yeah.
Dennis,
which is going to go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead and finish up.
I was just going to say it is going to be played in Tampa Bay at Raymond James Stadium after the questions because of Hurricane Ian.
That's right.
Just barely avoided the metropolitan Tampa area. So, thankful for that, but also quickly, prayers for anyone affected by that. It was a really nasty storm. And I was definitely paying attention as the degree meteorologist of the group. But
that's right. Our resident meteorologist, Dennis. We appreciate
as the resident meteorologist, just thinking about everybody that was affected by that because it was pretty nasty.
Yeah. Well, Dennis, baseball talk.
I think it's time. Yeah, I think it's time.
Aaron Judge hit number 61, and for some reason it was celebrated like he broke some crazy record when no records have been broken so far. I'd just like to point that out. 61 is a record-tying home run. He has not broken any home runs. And as much as Roger Maris Jr. likes to proclaim that 61 is the real home run record, I think two of our podcast hosts would argue that Barry Bonds is the guy you got to beat if you want to get any respect from me. But Dennis, Aaron Judge hit 61.
I wholeheartedly disagree. I agree with the pure fact that no records have been broken because that's true. I wholeheartedly disagree with the fact that he has to hit what would be like 12 more or whatever it is. Is Bonds at like 73? Yeah, I mean it's just a lie. It's just an absolute asterisk. It just is. And so it's
Dennis, would
the record be higher than 61? Probably.
Was Barry Bonds ever proven or in the court of law or suspended for PEDs?
I don't remember anything ever going to the court of law for any reason, so no. And suspended, I don't believe so, because I think all the facts came out pretty much after he was done with the game.
Oh, so we have no evidence of Barry Bonds having been a steroid user other than hearsay.
I don't think the two things I just admitted say that there's no evidence.
Other than hearsay and assumptions. I don't know about you, Bob, but I've never seen any concrete evidence that is definitively proven Barry Bonds' steroid usage.
In my recollection, I don't either, and I would tend to agree that, well, I do have respect for Aaron Judge. The true record is not 61, but needless to say, 61 home runs in a season is still quite a feat that obviously very few men have ever reached. So I will give credit where it's due on that front, but. Dennis is just.
And if he hits Dennis one will more, get it. None will have without cheating.
Dennis will, he'll get it through his skull eventually. Derek, don't worry, he'll come around. We just got to keep working him.
Dennis, are we entirely sure that Aaron Judge is clean?
No. comes out later that he's not. I mean, we're not.
Dennis, is there
We're
evidence
not.
that's going to come back after the fact? Because baseball's just trying to make a
after
dime.
the fact, then I'll wipe his records from the book as well. I don't care who it is. I'll wipe them. I don't care if it's the judge. I'll wipe them straight from the books clean if it comes out after the fact. But right now, I mean, we don't have proof of that. I mean, there's no way to know, I guess, at this point. No way for us to know, anyway. I think, does he get to 62? Is he going to hit another one? I mean, what we got, like 7 days left?
He's got what, 8 games left? Is it 8 games?
Left?
7.
Let's see. The Yankees are 96 and 59. So 7 games.
7 games left. He's got 1 week. I think he does. I mean, he gets to play Baltimore at home. He's going to get to use the short porch and hit one out. I would like to point this out, though, before we move on to playoff talk. Aaron Judge would only have 48 home runs if all of them were hit at Comerica Park. So he gets a 13 home run boost by not having to play so many games at Comerica. And so the way I sort of reasoned it out was because the difference between his current home run total, 61, and how many home runs would have been a homer at Comerica, which is 48. Aaron Judge technically has only hit 55 home runs. That's what I think. Because Comerica Park has, out of all the parks, Comerica is the lowest home run total. So, I don't know, it goes from 48 to maybe 62 or something. But Comerica, he would have 13 less home runs if all of his home runs were hit at Comerica, which is the lowest out of any stadium in the MLB. And because I think his splits are almost exactly 50-50 home runs and away home runs, then theoretically he should have 6 less home runs because half of them would be taken away from playing all of his home games at Comerica. So
we're just going to standardize everybody's home runs by Comerica?
Well,
I mean, what is that? Everybody plays in different park.
Yes, but also everyone always says, well, the other teams get to play at Yankee Stadium, and Aaron Judge has hit half of his home runs on the road, too. But the fact of the matter still stands that if Aaron Judge was a Detroit Tiger, he would not have 61 home runs this year because they all wouldn't have gotten out of Comerica Park.
I mean, yeah,
when Aaron Judge hit 61 homers and all 61 of them would have been homers at Comerica Park and not taking advantage of the Little League right field fence that is at Yankee Stadium, and I'll give him some respect.
I think that's just kind of it's just how the chips fall given that all parks are different.
I guess so.
I mean, I wonder where Yankee Stadium ranks in terms of, because I mean, I could see it if you're in Colorado, everyone always says, oh, numbers are all inflated. Or sure, Great American because it's the Little League ballpark. But I wonder where Yankee Stadium ranks in terms of if his homers were hit at all the different stadiums.
Well, let me tell you, Dennis, because I'd love to bring up that stat for you. Yankee Stadium has a park factor ranking of 17.
So it's kind of middle of the road, basically.
But it has, I don't know what stat this is. The home run, okay. So the park factor, so just whether it's a hitter-friendly ballpark or a pitcher-friendly ballpark, the park factor, they're ranked 17th. They're rated an even 100, which is sort of the baseline level is 100.
It's not friendly either way, basically.
Right. But from a home run standpoint, it is the 7th ranked ballpark for being home run friendly. Great American is number 1.
That's right, baby. Go Reds.
You know who's dead last?
Comerica.
America.
Yep, Comerica.
Maybe they should have just built shorter fences. I mean, what do you want me to do?
Well, yes. I want Aaron Judge to play for the Tigers. Is that too much to ask?
Come on, I don't think that's too much to ask.
Open up the pocketbooks. Open up the pocketbook, Mike Ilitch. It's time to pay Aaron Judge and bring him to Detroit. How about it, Bob?
I'll rise.
That's a train I know Bob
It's
can go
Bobby's
on.
dream come true. Bobby's literal dream come true. All right. Well, I think just to go through the current situation, like we said, there's a week left. I think games end next Wednesday, with the wild card rounds starting Friday, Saturday, Sunday, because they're doing a 3-game series wild card weekend with 2 series in the National League and 2 series in the American League before going to the divisional round, and then of course the um, conference championship series, the league championship series. Right now in the American League, as it sits, Houston's won the AL West. The Yankees have won the AL East, and Cleveland's won the AL Central. Toronto today clinched a wild card spot. And then in the hunt is technically Seattle, Tampa Bay, and Baltimore is on the outside looking in. I think they're 5 games out with only 7-ish to play. So that's probably not going to happen. You're probably going to look at Toronto, Seattle, Tampa Bay in the American League. And then quickly in the National League, the Dodgers have tied up the best record in the National League, so they will be the 1 seed. Whoever wins the division in the East between the Mets and Braves will be the 2 seed. They're currently 1 game apart, with the Mets a 1-game lead over the Braves. Seattle has won the Central, or St. Louis, that is, has won the Central. And then you're looking at whoever loses the East between the Mets and Braves is going to be the 4 seed. And then currently it's San Diego and Philadelphia in the wild card spots, but Philadelphia only has a half-game lead on Milwaukee. And then on the very outside looking in is the San Francisco Giants, who will probably be eliminated in the next day or two. So, given that picture, I think there's a couple of interesting races here. Number one, the race for the NL East, the Mets and Braves. That's the only division race left. And then really it's coming down to the Phillies and Brewers for that last wild card in the National League. So predictions, thoughts, how we feeling with 1 week left?
Yeah, the Phillies really picked the wrong time to go on a 5-game losing streak and
Yeah,
get
they
swept
did.
by the
Absolutely.
Cubs. I mean,
Yep.
my Cubbies are giving the Brewers the best chance they can to come back and snag a wild card spot after they choked away the NL Central to St. Louis. Yeah, Philadelphia. It is amazing how you can have Zach Wheeler and Aaron Nola heading your rotation, and how you can have Bryce Harper, even though he's been hurt for quite some time, Kyle Schwarber, Alec Baum, bunch of other dudes that you paid a ton of money, and you're on a 5-game losing streak with the season on the line. That is very impressive to me.
Oh, I completely agree. It's literally the worst time to go on a 5-game losing streak. Looking forward to the Phillies. They're at Washington for 4 and at Houston for 3. So,
Okay.
they got to turn this around this weekend against Washington, you would think, because I mean that's 4 very winnable games, and in terms of keeping up and keeping the Brewers in the rear view. I'm looking right now to try to find who the Brewers have in their last couple series here. But
Home
you're
versus
absolutely right.
Miami and home versus Arizona.
See, that's a little more favorable. I got to think than going on the road. I mean, Diamondbacks not that great a team. Miami has been okay, kind of middle of the road this year. But it's going to be an interesting race to watch. The Cubs definitely did some damage to the Phillies by by sweeping them here and sending them down this 5-game losing streak at the absolute worst possible time. Not too much to talk about in the American League, just kind of a shifting of position, really, unless you think Baltimore is going to erase a 5-game deficit in the next 7 days.
I was actually going to talk
Mets
about
in Atlanta.
I was actually just about to talk about one thing about the American League, Dennis.
Go for it, Bobby. Yes.
AL Central, how in the world did you let Cleveland be your representative? I mean, there was such optimism. I had such optimism about this division coming into the year, and that was just tanked.
And nobody else is getting in. It's
horrendous play from the White Sox, horrendous play from the Twins, and Cleveland just kind of being the best of the worst of them, or the best of the worst of the. I don't even know how to explain it, but they were just not impressive, and they somehow got a bunch of dubs against a bunch of cupcake teams, including the White Sox that quite literally choked away all their chances of coming back. I mean, in a race that has become quite inflated, but was close for most of the season. But yeah, that's really my 2 cents on it.
I felt like the Twins did a lot of buying, didn't they? I mean, I know they traded for Sonny Gray.
And they brought in Carlos Correa.
I mean, I felt like they were really kind of, pushing the sin button on this season. It's just 76 and 80. It's just tough.
I mean, Byron
right
Buxton, unfortunately, is just made of glass. So
that can be the difference right there.
Yeah. Yeah. Only other thing I wanted to talk about was clap it up for Seattle, baby. Love to see the Mariners back in the postseason. I'm hoping they can make a run. Julio Rodriguez is fun to watch. Dennis, you've got plenty of Seattle.
I've got a ton of stake in the game. They basically just adopted our franchise. Seriously, I mean, it's Luis Castillo on the hill, who I've loved as all his time in a Cincinnati uniform, so I'll definitely be pulling for him. Jesse Winker, who kind of ticked me off when he left town, but it's whatever. And then Eugenio Suarez, how can you root against that guy? I mean, it really is Cincinnati West right now. So go Seattle out of the American League. Finally back in the playoffs. I'm pulling for him, man. Really am. That's gonna be sweet.
I don't know. Let me pull up if the playoffs started today bracket picture. Because I want to see when the Mariners could possibly beat the Yankees in the playoffs.
Well, right now, you might be able to find the bracket, but right now they would play Toronto, which would mean that they would then play Houston in any matchup with the Yankees. Wait, no.
They'd play Cleveland.
They would win and play the Yankees.
Yes. That's what we're pulling for. So we need Seattle to hold on to the 5 seed.
They could roll through the NL East if they beat Toronto in a 3-game series and then beat the Yankees in the divisional series. And they would just eliminate the East. That would be sweet.
That's what I'm talking about. So we need Seattle to hold down the 4 at the 5 seed so we can get the Yankees out of the playoffs in the ALDS, because that would be hilarious.
That would be beautiful. Any World Series predictions as we said today? I know still into the regular season. Early thoughts on the World Series?
I think Houston's really good. So they're going to be my AL team. I mean, until the Mets can prove to me that they aren't choke artists, I'm not choosing the Mets. I think Atlanta can make a run. I wouldn't be surprised to see Atlanta back there again. Basically, I'll put it this way. As long as it's not St. Louis, I don't care.
I'll tell you that as long as it's not St. Louis, and if it's St. Louis Yankees or Dodgers Yankees, I'm going to barf and then not watch, because that's just disgusting. I just no desire to watch that whatsoever. That's horrible. And unfortunately for me, the teams I really want are going to be like wild card teams, like Seattle. We talked about. I wouldn't mind seeing Toronto actually. San Diego and Philadelphia, I think, would be fun, especially Philadelphia, just because I love my boy Kyle Schwarber and Nick Castellanos out there now. So the teams that I would prefer to pick are probably not going to make it through, but you never say never. And I'm
gonna take Houston and whoever wins the NL East. So I'll leave it up to chance. Whoever the NL East winner is, whether it's the Mets or the Braves, I'll put them in the World Series versus Houston.
There you go. I hope it's the Braves. I'm with you on that. Bobby, any thoughts?
I'm going Yankees, Braves. Yankees, Braves.
All right. Yankees, Braves. I'm assuming the Yankees get it done.
Yeah, of course.
No Subway Series, Bob? Gross. No World Series Subway Series?
Oh, Yankees Mets would be interesting. I would watch that.
That would be fun. That would be fun.
Bring me the Mets.
Unfortunately, I think the Dodgers are probably who my brain is telling me to pick out of the NL, but I just can't do that. So I'm going to go with the team I actually kind of like.
It's so weird because when I look at the bottom four of the Dodgers lineup, it just doesn't scare me. Like when I was looking
Oh,
at
it's
the
in
box
five
score
though.
around in like mid-August, and I was like, yes, Mookie, Freddie, and Trey Turner at the top of the order is like as dangerous as any 1 through 3 in MLB history practically. And then you got and Will Smith at 4. But then 5 through 9, Justin Turner, hit or miss, Max Muncy, hit or miss. Uh, they're what platooning Joey Gallo and Trace Thompson. I think who else? Chris Taylor. I mean, the 5 through 9 to me is just like it's
You can't
amazing
forget
they
about
won
Gavin
so.
Lux.
And Gavin Lux, it's amazing. Like the 5 through 9 is just like so like scary to me that it just amazes me they won so many games this year.
Yeah, that's facts. That's facts.
Yeah, I think they've just gotten a lot of production from guys that we just listed that you wouldn't necessarily be scared of, and just so much from the top of their lineup too.
Yeah, and Cody Bellinger. I forgot about Cody Bellinger because he's become so
Irrelevant.
irrelevant.
Exactly.
But
All right.
yeah, it's
Well, maybe
just
we'll have to do some actual World Series predictions next week when we have the whole bracket set out and run through it a little bit more. But Derek, do you have winners and losers prepared? I think we can move into that.
um I'll go last because I'm
Okay.
still deciding.
All right. All right. Bobby, you want to give it
So
a whirl?
Yeah,
yeah.
I will. I am. I'm gonna go winner of the week. We already kind of touched about it, but Dennis and I just decided it was appropriate. Aaron Judge, winner of the week, because even though he didn't break the real home run record, still
Correct.
61 dongs in a season is absolutely insane and ties ties the record. With plenty of opportunity still ahead of him to break the record. So I got to give my props to him there. Are we all gonna do winners or?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Yeah, we can all do winners.
Okay, all right. Go ahead
yeah.
then.
Dennis, go ahead.
So I think for me, it's and I did pick some honorable mentions this week because I know that Derek likes to run through a few honorable mentions as well. But my number
Thank you,
one winner
Dennis.
is Jacksonville Jaguar fans. I mean, we talked about it a little bit, and that's why I said more on that later. They beat the Chargers 38-10. I know they were banged up, no Bosa. Herbert was playing with like broken ribs, blah, 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 blah. But the the fact of the matter is they beat the Colts 24-0 week 2, who then just in turn beat the Chiefs for no reason last week in week 3. So, I mean, you've got the transitive property working in your favor. You got the fact that you're beating this team that should be in the Super Bowl because it's Justin Herbert and the Chargers. And even though they're banged up 38-10, I mean, just an absolute beatdown. I mean, Jacksonville's flying high right now, and you got to think that people in Jacksonville believe they might just win the whole division at this point with how poor everybody else has really been playing. So, yeah, if you're a fan of Jacksonville after watching what was such an atrocity last season and just an absolute disaster, this start has just got to have you fired up. So that's my winner of the week.
My winner of the week is all baseball fans not named Zach Campbell because he did not get to catch home run number 61. Are you guys familiar with Zach
Yes.
Campbell?
Yep.
Yes, I am.
Yeah, so for those of you that aren't familiar with Zach Campbell, let me enlighten you. Zach Campbell is a noob and a bum, and he wastes all of his daddy's money going to baseball games to catch home runs and foul balls and steal them from children. And so Zach Campbell is a pest to the MLB community and is only liked by children who haven't had a ball stolen by him yet. And fortunately, Judge's 61st home run ball went into the bullpen, and both Albert Pujols 699 and 700. I think Zach Campbell was on vacation or something, so he wasn't in LA to have a chance to catch those. So So far, so good. We've got one more monument to break if Aaron Judge does indeed hit 62 this season. But yeah, the MLB fans can breathe a sigh of relief for one more day that known baseball terrorist Zach Hampel did in fact not catch the 61st home run from Aaron Judge.
It's a good one. Yep, that's a good one. Loser, Bobby, you got a loser.
Yeah, I do have a loser, and I think it's tough for me to pick anyone other than the LA Chargers this week as my loser. Just because, I mean, here's the deal with me and the Chargers. I never really had much faith in the Chargers. I made that clear prior to the season, and they've had their injuries. They've had certainly plenty of legitimate excuses, but I mean, they have not overly impressed anybody, I don't think, to this point in the season. And Justin Herbert, at some point, I understand he's playing with injury and stuff like that, but if it's sooner or later, if you're a Herbert fan, you got to be asking, when are the wins going to come? And they quite simply haven't come yet. So I would say the LA Chargers would be my loser for the week.
Yeah, I mean, it makes a ton of sense, and I mean, even just the fact that they are so injured is kind of, for fans, that just sucks, and
Kind of adds to it.
not getting a lot of production. So that definitely adds to it. Mine is Trent Sherfield. I don't know if you recognize that name, but you might recognize the butt punt. He is the blocker for Miami who got uh, unfortunately rear-ended by the Thomas Morstead punt last week against the Bills. Went off his backside and then unfortunately out the back of the end zone for a safety. So yeah, Trent Sherfield, I just thought I had to put him as a loser. I think he's been a pretty good sport about it and has kind of like made light of the whole situation. But I mean, that was just so weird when I watched that play, that the ball just kind of popped up in the air and we're like, was it blocked? Because it went like backwards. Did he just kick it over his head? No, it went off of his blocker. And that guy's name is Trent Sherfield. So that's my loser for the week.
Much easier to laugh that off when you win.
Correct.
Yes, definitely much easier to laugh that off when you win. Not catching a lot of flack for that, but still probably wasn't comfortable.
Yeah, Bob nabbed my Chargers pick, but unfortunately, I always have a backup. Michigan State, Detroit Lions fans. Big time losers.
So Bobby Epler, dang.
All the Bobby Eplers of the world. I'm also tempted to throw CMU, MSU, Detroit Lions fans if they're those. My dad,
Targeting.
is a CMU, MSU fan.
That's flagrant targeting, Bobby.
But a real rough week for fans of, that are combo Spartan Lions fans. You hate to see it. Tough week, and hopefully the Lions are able to pull out some victories, because with MSU having Maryland, Ohio State, Wisconsin, and Michigan the next 4 weeks, there's some dark days ahead for Michigan State football fans. Honorable mentions, Dennis, I know you had a couple. We can start with the winners. Eagles fans, 3-0, one of the last two undefeated teams. Oh, well, actually, the last undefeated team, now that Cincinnati won. Any other winner honorable mentions?
Yeah, the probably 5 people in the world that call themselves Kansas Jayhawk football fans are winners. 4-0. The Kansas Jayhawks, 4-0. They've won 4 games in a season for the first time since 2009. They haven't won 4 games in a season since 2009. They're 4-0. And they have a conference win against West Virginia already. And they don't have any more than one conference win in a season since 2009. That whole period, they've been 23-118.
Oh my God.
Not a good program. But they're 4-0. And hats off to anybody who has stayed a true Kansas Jayhawk football fan over these years. Tip of the cap, because that's impressive.
Bob, any honorable mentions on your end?
Only a loser for the loser of the week. So
all right, hold that thought.
Okay.
Hold that thought. James Madison, that's another winner I wanted to throw out there. They beat App State in Boone. So James Madison is 4-0. in their first year of FBS Division One football. And I believe they got some actual votes to be ranked top 25. So James Madison, Minnesota fans, Golden Gophers and Vikings, both victorious this week. This past week, I should say. Anyone else?
I didn't have anything else. I just had that. Those two. I almost said Tom Kim, the young gun for the internationals that played in the President's Cup, young
No.
up and coming PGA golfer. And if you haven't watched any of this guy play, you don't even have to be a golf fan. Just watch like Tom Kim gets hyped like moments, because this guy is 20 years old. He's literally a superstar in the making, and he is the most hype golfer I've ever seen. Like, and I'm sure it's the President's Cup, so there's like a lot of emotion, but he like makes a putt, and then like the hat comes off. He's like pumping up the crowd. He's high fiving people. Man, this guy is energetic, and he kind of introduced himself to the world this weekend. A lot of people have been watching him for a while, and he's kind of busting onto the scene. So, hats off to Tom Kim. That was
That's
pretty
another
cool.
winner. USA
And the USA
winners.
ended up winning the cup, of course, which is, of course, a
So
win. So,
Americans,
yes.
all Americans were winners this past week with the golf USA team bringing home the President's Cup. Bob, feel free to start us off with an honorable mention of losers.
Yeah, that'd be none other than Mac Jones for loser of the week.
Ooh.
And not only did he get injured, but then he got the fact that he had, a very viral photo of him getting taken off the field. That just kind of compounded the fact that he was, injured, and then he has to get memed on top of it. So, Mac Jones for honorable mention.
I mean,
Yeah,
dude
tough week
acted
for
like
Mac.
his ankle was blown to pieces. I mean,
Kinda.
that was a tough scene. Tough scene. Dennis, any honorable mention losers for you? I've got one. Raiders fans.
Oh, tough.
Raiders
That's
fans.
tough, but fair, but fair. I had two other ones. Anyone who watched Sunday Night Football,
Mm-hmm.
that was one of the most boring and back and forth punt duels I've ever seen. I went through and looked at all the drives. I won't list them all, but I'll say there was 25 total drives in this game. 17 of them were punts, ended in a punt,
Jeez.
and one of them ended in a missed field goal. There was a fumble. There was a safety. There was another fumble and an interception. So only 4 of the 25 drives ended in points that weren't from a safety. And the safety was Jimmy G stepping on the back of the end zone.
Loser of the week, Jimmy G. Winner
Jimmy
of the
G.
week, Dan Orlovsky. Because for us Lions fans and NFL fans in general who remember Dan Orlovsky running out of the back of the end zone, let me pull up the tweet. Dan Orlovsky had a great tweet when that moment happened. Let me find it quick.
While you're doing that, I'll just mention my last honorable mention for loser. It's Myles Garrett, who got in an unfortunate accident, strained his bicep, right shoulder, had suffered other cuts and bruises, and was issued a citation for failure to control his vehicle, and was going over the limit by quite a bit, it seemed. So, not a comfortable situation for Myles Garrett. That was my other loser.
Good old Dan.
That was
Beautiful.
one.
Beautiful.
And then here is the other one. I've never been happier. Freedom in all caps.
Thank you, Dan.
In all caps.
he's made it out alive.
Oh, there's
well,
another.
guys, is it time for the right bench baller? Oh, we got
One more loser. Brian Dable.
Correct.
Yes.
Correct.
Yes. Yes.
There's
absolutely.
another loser. Brian Dable.
That was the
Sorry,
meme of the
Brian.
week.
Or not Brian Dable. Who's the Bills' offensive coordinator?
Blanking on it. I am.
I forgot because
Ken Dorsey?
Brian Dable.
Ken Dorsey.
Yeah, Ken Dorsey. Thank you.
That's
I
right.
forgot. Brian Dable is
That's
now
correct,
the
Bobby.
Giants head
Yep.
coach.
Giants head coach. Yep.
All right. Well, you know what? I'm going to throw out, since I'm I'm being targeted as loser of the week. I'm just going to throw out my right bench bar and get this done with.
Let's do it.
The only bright spot for Michigan State fans this past weekend, Noah Kim in garbage time as my right bench bar. Had a QBR far above that of Peyton Thorne. Wasn't even particularly close, and actually looked decent in garbage time and completed, I believe, all but one of his passes. So, Noah, if we'd have to go to you, I hope you're on standby because it could be in short order.
Eric, I guess
Dennis,
I'm going to
go
let you go
ahead.
because I stole yours last week. Oh, okay. All right.
I don't think you'll steal mine. I will be very surprised.
Okay, well, I actually have an obvious one, and I have a more kind of more right bench baller one, but I'll just go with the one that I feel like deserves a shout out, and I already said his name. Mac Hollins, the receiver for the Raiders, 8 receptions, 158 yards, 1 touchdown, way outpaced Devontae Adams and Darren Waller. For whatever reason, they're just using this guy a lot. He also had a pass attempt that went for 4 yards. So Mac Hollins, the receiver for Vegas. I don't know if they're going to keep using him or not, but he had a monster game last week, even though they lost to Tennessee. Derek, I'm curious to see if your guy is my second guy, because that'd be pretty funny.
I'd be extremely surprised because I pretty much decided mine like right when we were starting. Ford Proctor is a catcher for the San Francisco Giants. Coming into tonight, he was recalled from AAA just this past Saturday. Coming into tonight, he was hitting 125. He was 1 for 8 in his first 3 games with the Giants. And tonight, not only did he hit his first home run, but it was a go-ahead grand slam. And he ended the night 1 for 2 with a grand slam for his first ever career home run. So my right bench baller, recent call-up, Ford Proctor. I feel like we talked about this a couple episodes ago, where the nice thing about these teams who are out of playoff contention,
The call-up story.
the September call-up stories, and you get a lot of good ones. And here's Ford Proctor, right bench baller, hitting his first career home run, and it was a go-ahead and grand slam.
Absolutely, that's incredible. That's amazing. Bobby, we got garbage time takes your money.
Derek, do you have the spreadsheet pulled up, or do you want me to give you the?
I do.
Go ahead.
I do have it pulled up, and I do have it updated as well. Last week's game, Bobby so graciously gave us the Cowboys-Giants Monday night game. And that game ended by a score of 23-16. Do either of you, pop quiz, remember what the over-under was?
It was like 43.
39.5.
Ooh.
And the score, 23-16, put the game right at 39.
Oh, wow.
All of us picked the Cowboys because there wasn't really a favorite. I'm pretty sure it was a toss-up. So we all took the Cowboys, so points to us there. Dennis, me and you both hit the under, baby. Woo!
Yeah.
And just add to Bobby being a loser apparently this week. I mean, just all aspects of the game.
But
unnecessary shot, Dennis. Unnecessary shot.
Maybe we can right the ship here with this absolute greaser of a garbage time takes your money.
He's picked a good one
for this week. It's going to be none other than the Cleveland Browns at the Atlanta Falcons for our garbage time takes your money. That's going to be, the line is currently Cleveland -1.5, and the over-under is at 47.5 points. I'll start us out on the predictions.
Please do.
I'm going to have Cleveland covering the 1.5 points. And I will have them going over 47.5.
All right. I think for me, I'm just thinking about this game quickly because, of course, these are always a surprise, and this is probably the last game I would have expected you to pick, but I'm starting to catch up onto the trend. Yeah, exactly. Cleveland hasn't looked half bad this season, and I think that they're the better team here. So I'm gonna be consistent with you in terms of taking Cleveland to cover that spread. But I'm gonna go to the under because I think if Cleveland's gonna win this game, it's gonna be a lot of Nick Chubb and it's gonna be a lot of Kareem Hunt, and I think that's gonna eat a lot of clock. And so for me, I think that this game should be won by Cleveland on the ground for the most part. And so for that reason, I'm gonna lean under. But I could see it getting there, but for me, it's just kind of screams under to me.
So here's an interesting little tidbit for you. The Falcons in their first 3 games of the year, 26, 27, 27. The Browns, 26, 30, 29. Those trends in order, I'm going to take the over because that is about 60 points. And for them to score nearly 2 less touchdowns combined, I don't think either of those defenses are particularly formidable. And surprisingly, Atlanta's offense is actually kind of competent when they decide to throw the ball to Kyle Pitts. And
Really?
Jacoby Brissett hasn't been dog water for Cleveland. I mean, like you said, Dennis, Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt, very good running backs. Amari Cooper on the outside, very talented. Jacoby Brissett playing a lot of mistake-free football. So even though it is in Atlanta, and that is tempting to take the Falcons, I'm going to take Cleveland because I just think they're the better team. So give me Cleveland. I'm going to ride with Bob on the over.
Awesome. Well, I think that should get us right into the social media shout-outs, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, absolutely.
All righty. At Garb Time Takes on Twitter, at Garbage Time Takes on Instagram. You can find a link to our all of our written content and our website in the description of this video below. And thank you everybody for the support on our college recap video. Last time I checked, for the amount of time that's been out, it's our number 2 video in that time span. So shout out to all of our loyal viewers and keep up the great work.
Yep,
Yeah,
absolutely. I think
30 views.
30 views. There we go. That's right. That's what I love to see. Got to keep that up. Going to be coming to you. Should be coming to you pretty much every week, and then we'll try to do some more recap videos. Maybe throwing going live at some point to watch a game together. So I'll have to play that by ear. Check the social medias.
We did test out the going live feature today, and we were able to get it going, and it worked pretty decently. I mean, it was more of just a test run, so we didn't have it up for that long, but. As like Dennis said, keep your eye out for that. We'll try to announce it on social media and stuff when we plan to view a game. So, if anyone wants to have a watch party with us, they can join in.
Absolutely. Derek, I think you got to count us down.
Oh, I wasn't sure, Dennis. I was kind of letting you take the reins. You had sort of taken control throughout the show. I'm sure.
I know it was fun.
Yeah, got to spice things up.
It was fun, but this is tradition. We got to end this.
Fair enough.
We got it.
Absolutely. Well, like Bobby mentioned, thanks again so much for watching. We appreciate all the support. And we will see you guys on the next episode, potentially this Saturday. So get that bell on to get the notifications when we post a new video. Thanks again for watching. And with that, on 3,
2, 1, peace.
Peace.